Competition in the EV space is revving up. General Motors unveiled its latest electric truck yesterday, the 2024 GMC Sierra EV. It's now taking reservations for the $107,000 fully loaded version called the Sierra EV Denali Edition. Thankfully, we've got Pras Subramanian to break down all the details for us. That is a hefty price tag, but it's not the only truck on the market that's an EV. How does it compare?
Well, you know, its twin is basically the Silverado, the Chevy Silverado, which I find to have a design that's more adventure, lifestyle truck. Whereas if you look at the new Sierra EV over here, it's more traditional truck-like, looks like a work truck. I think it might appeal to a broader set of people. Power-wise, it actually has more power than the top-of-line Silverado. It has around 750 horsepower, 400 miles of range in that top trim, so that's pretty competitive. But you did mention that price, $107,000 for that top tier. It's very pricey, very high-end, very premium, I would say. But I did get a chance to speak to the chief engineer, Nichole Kraatz, about lower trim levels that are actually going to compete against the Ford Lightning Pro. Here's what you had to say.
$50,000 model for the Sierra EV is an elevation. It's an elevation trim, so it's not a work truck in the standpoint of a model named a work truck or a fleet truck, if you will. We're bringing some really compelling capability from a basic perspective on the Sierra EV into all price points. The trucks are capable of different ranges and different option content. So the Sierra EV Denali that we're talking about for 2024 with our Edition 1 is a fully loaded, all of the technology that we can possibly imagine. And then in the future, many of these things become options and then various range packs as well available. So it really brings an EV pickup for everyone. I mean, we talk about that and people kind of think that's a little cliche perhaps, but we are really committed to bringing folks into our EVs, specifically in the EV pickup truck segment. And by offering them all of the capability and all of the technology that they desire, we can, establish to these various ranges of our price points as well.
So we don't have the specs yet for that elevation from that base model, but we do know that the Sierra Denali EV one, that high-end one, is going to come out in 2024 with the lower trims coming out in 2025.
So how does this compare to the gas-powered Sierras? And is that the exact target they're going for in terms of who's likely to switch over?
Well, I think with the lower trims, they're going to, if they do stick with that $50,000 price tag, which is, as you know, things have been changing, that would be comparable to a Sierra elevation work truck at that, I shouldn't say work truck, at that trim level. It would be comparable price-wise and even have a bit more power. But the question is, are you going to be able to convince these guys who drive traditional trucks, I want an EV with potentially less than 400 miles of range, and then I'm going to take it to the job site. Is that going to be as capable and sturdy as my traditional gas power, can go anywhere, sort of thing? So I think that's the big sort of question that GM is trying to answer, or how their clients or customers answer.
Yeah, still a lot of concerns about range, about infrastructure, charging stations, making sure that's all in place.
Right. So
they can drive it just like they would their normal car.
I do want to add one thing, that it does have the GM kind of like the ability to power a work site, power your home, and also power the grid potentially with their GM Energy products. So that will work with that, with the Ultium battery pack. So they do have that additional capability that you might not find in like a Rivian, for example.
Yeah, an added benefit there. All right, thanks so much for that, Pras.